man, it was just so much pressure in so many different ways because it's been leading up to this for so long, since I would argue episode 1 of season 1. Also the pressure of knowing like it relates a lot to my own personal journey, and having the entire cast there standing watching like a press conference was nerve-wracking, and also just wanting to get it right because this is going to impact actually a lot of real young people out there who are struggling in the same ways that Will did, and you don't want to mess that up. So a lot of pressure, and the most dialogue I've ever had in a scene. I mean, I just had pages of paragraphs of lines, and usually I just have like one word, the kind of scared things, and so wanting to just not mess a single thing up, of course. And so I just made sure to like prepare like I've never done before for a scene, and it was really nice and cathartic almost, because I was able to obviously, pull parts from myself in there and get that moment with the cast, which I've never had before, to like sit with them and just be like, guys, like this is who I am, this is why the way I am, and have them all just like sit and listen. Because I was so just in my own emotions that day, like I didn't not take a single note of anyone really around me, and then like watching it completely detached from the feelings and seeing how everyone reacted, like it did. I will say, like I remember Max too, her look, and like seeing Jonathan crying, like, and Maya, like it did feel very genuine, and it was. I mean, I remember after the scene cut, like just running to them and hugging and crying for real of like all these emotions built up, and Charlie was just like hugging me, crying, and it was just so real, all of it that day. Like I'll never forget.
What does it take for an actor to deliver the single most important scene of their career? For Noah Schnapp, it meant carrying the weight of a secret for nearly a decade, preparing for months in silence, and finally breaking down in front of his entire cast family during a grueling 12-hour shoot that left everyone in tears. This wasn't just another day on the Stranger Things set. This was the moment Will Byers would finally reveal his truth, and what happened behind the cameras was just as powerful as what made it to screen. If you've been following Stranger Things since that first season back in 2016, you knew Will Byers was different. Not just because he got abducted into the Upside Down in the very first episode, setting him apart from his friends in the most traumatic way possible. There was always something deeper going on with Will, something the show hinted at but never fully addressed. Remember when his own father called him a slur, something Joyce had to recount in season 1? Or how about that painful moment in season 3 when Mike snapped at Will for not liking girls, while everyone else was pairing off and growing up? The signs were always there, woven into the fabric of Will's character from the very beginning. Fans started speculating almost immediately, and those theories only grew stronger as the seasons progressed. By season 4, when Will broke down trying to express his feelings toward Mike, barely holding back tears in that van, it seemed pretty clear what the show was building toward. But nobody said it out loud. Not yet. Season 5 changed everything for Will, though. He wasn't just the victim anymore, the kid who got taken and traumatized. This season, he discovered he had powers, sorcerer-like abilities that made him a hero instead of someone who needed saving. With that power came something even more important: self-acceptance. And that transformation was about to lead to the most pivotal moment in the entire series. Episode 7 of Season 5, titled The Bridge, delivered what fans had been waiting years to see. After escaping from Vecna's mind invasion, Will realizes he can't keep running from who he is. Vecna's been using Will's secrets against him, preying on his shame and fear, showing him nightmares of a future where everyone slowly abandons him once they know the truth. Will originally planned to tell just his mom, Joyce, to get this weight off his chest. But standing there, surrounded by his friends and family, he makes a split-second decision that changes everything. He's going to tell everyone, right now, all at once. The words pour out of him in an emotional flood that lasts nearly 4 minutes on screen. He talks about wanting to be like everyone else, about pretending he wasn't different because he didn't want to be. He describes how Vecna showed him a future where he loses everyone, not through outright rejection, but through slow, painful distance. And then he says it, breaking down completely: "I don't like girls." Not, "I'm gay, but I don't like girls." That specific wording wasn't an accident. This is the 1980s, and even for someone who's accepted themselves, saying those words out loud carries weight that's hard to imagine today. The scene doesn't just belong to the Stranger Things universe. It belongs to every person who's ever struggled with that same fear of being abandoned for who they are. But the most powerful part? Everyone in that room responds with immediate, unwavering love and support. His mother Joyce tells him he'll never lose her. His brother Jonathan wraps him in a hug. His friends surround him with reassurance. And in that moment, Will takes his power back from Vecna. What makes this scene even more powerful is that Noah Schnapp wasn't just acting. When he read that script for the first time, back in August or September after months of texting the Duffer brothers asking when it would be ready, he broke down in tears. Noah came out publicly as gay in 2023, and here he was, getting to play out a parallel journey with a character he'd been embodying since he was just a kid. The preparation Noah put into this moment was intense. He spent months memorizing every single line, going through the monologue morning and night with no emotion attached, just drilling the words into his memory. Maya Hawke, who plays Robin, gave him crucial advice. It's not about how well you know the lines, it's about how long you've known them. That way, when the cameras roll, you're not thinking about what to say next. You can just feel everything raw and real. Noah knew the scene would matter to real people out there, young kids struggling with their identity just like Will. He wanted it to be perfect for them, to do justice to this character who'd been building toward this moment since the very beginning. And when he finally got to perform it, something remarkable happened. Noah described it as freeing, finally getting to verbalize Will's emotions after years of expressing everything through facial expressions and subtext. This was Will's moment to actually speak his truth, and it was Noah's too. The day they filmed Will's coming out scene was unlike any other day on the Stranger Things set. 12 hours. That's how long they spent capturing this single sequence, and they still weren't done. They had to come back a week later for another 12-hour session to reshoot certain parts. Noah performed that emotional, tearful monologue over and over and over again, and according to the Duffer brothers, he poured everything into every single take. The cast, who normally would be off in Video Village or hanging out between setups, stayed right there in their spots through the entire shoot. They didn't have to, many of their reaction shots didn't even require them to be present. But they all stayed, supporting Noah through dozens of takes of the most vulnerable moment of his career. Finn Wolfhard, Gatton Matarazzo, Caleb McLaughlin, Winona Ryder, Charlie Heaton, Maya Hawke, everyone was there, giving their full attention and genuine reactions for every single repetition. And here's what's remarkable. Noah was so locked into the emotion of the scene that he barely noticed their reactions in the moment. He said the set, which is normally loud and chaotic with everyone joking around and messing with each other, went completely silent. You could hear a pin drop. When he finally watched the finished scene, he was struck by how genuine everyone's responses looked, and he realized it was because they truly were moved by what they were witnessing. The decision to film Noah's close-up first thing in the morning proved crucial. He could have done wider shots first, getting comfortable with the scene before diving into the intense emotional close-up. But he chose to go straight into it, and that first take of the day became the heart of the final scene. By the end of those 12 hours, Matt Duffer said Noah looked like he was about to collapse. And when they finally wrapped, the emotions didn't stop with the cameras. Charlie Heaton and Noah embraced and cried together for real, the weight of what they'd just created hitting them all at once. The Duffer brothers knew this moment was coming from the very beginning. Back in season 1, when Netflix asked them to explain the mythology of the show, they wrote a 20-page document mapping out everything, including Will's journey. They originally planned for Will to come out in season 4, but they realized they didn't have the space to do it justice. So they waited, giving themselves an entire season to build toward this one moment in episode 7. And according to Ross Duffer, there isn't a scene in the entire series that they spent more time writing and rewriting than Will's coming out. They knew how important it was, not just for the story, but for Noah, who they'd been working with since he was a little kid. The litmus test for whether they'd gotten it right was simple. Give it to Noah and see how he responds. When he read it and broke down crying, telling them it was perfect, they knew they'd finally nailed it. The decision to have Will come out in front of everyone, not just his mother, came during the writing process when they realized a private moment with Joyce wasn't hitting the way it needed to. Will needed to tell everyone at once, to fully step into himself with no more secrets, because that's what would break Vecna's hold on him. It's about the power of truth and acceptance, and how love can defeat fear when you let people in. The Duffers also made a crucial decision about the exact words Will would use. They talked with Noah about why he doesn't say, "I'm gay," explicitly, and the answer connects to both the character and the era. Even in 2023, when Noah came out in real life, he didn't use that specific word right away. It feels scary to say it out loud, vulnerable in a way that's hard to describe. Now imagine it's the 1980s, with all the additional weight that carried. This was the height of the AIDS crisis, a time when the Reagan administration wouldn't even acknowledge that being gay was real, when coming out could mean being treated like you had some contagious disease. For Will, saying "I don't like girls" felt safer, more comfortable, a way to communicate his truth without using a word that carried so much stigma and danger. There's something haunting about the context Will is coming out into. This isn't 2025, where acceptance is far from universal, but at least there's language and community and resources. This is 1986 in small-town Indiana, where the AIDS epidemic is rampant and fear is everywhere. Reports were claiming the virus was spreading through casual contact. The government was ignoring it, letting people suffer and perish, because they saw it as a problem affecting the wrong people. In that environment, Will's fear that he could be abandoned isn't paranoia. It's a legitimate concern about survival. When Vecna shows him that nightmare future where people slowly drift away from him after learning his truth, it's tapping into a very real terror that gay people were living with every single day. The stakes of Will's confession aren't just emotional, they're existential. That's what Noah wanted to make sure he captured in his performance, that understanding of the landscape Will is declaring himself in. This wasn't just a personal revelation, it was an act of courage in a time and place where that courage could cost you everything. And yet Will does it anyway. Because keeping the secret is costing him something even more important, his ability to be himself, to fight back against the darkness trying to consume him. The scene works because it honors both the universal experience of coming out, that core fear of rejection that transcends time and place, and the specific historical moment when being gay carried dangers we can barely imagine today. Noah brought all of that complexity into his performance, making it feel authentic to both 1986 and to anyone watching in 2025 who's ever struggled with their identity. When the cameras finally stopped rolling and everyone could step out of character, the emotions that had been building all day spilled over into something beautifully real. Noah and Charlie Heaton, who plays his brother Jonathan, embraced and cried together, not as Will and Jonathan, but as two actors who just created something profoundly moving. That's what made this day different from every other day on set. The blurred line between performance and reality, between the character's emotions and the actor's own feelings. The reactions you see on screen, those teary eyes from Jonathan and Robin, the protective embrace from Joyce, the immediate acceptance from Mike and the others, all of that was genuine. The Duffer brothers and director Sean Levy captured something rare. That moment when actors aren't just hitting their marks and saying their lines, but are truly experiencing something alongside their characters. Maya Hawke beams with pride throughout the scene because that's how Maya felt watching Noah deliver this performance. The same goes for Charlie Heaton, whose face radiates love and support in a way that feels utterly authentic. These weren't just castmates going through the motions. These were people who'd grown up together over 10 years, who'd watched Noah grow from a child into a young adult, and who understood the significance of what he was doing both as Will and as himself. Finn Wolfhard's performance as Mike deserves special mention too. Throughout the series, there's been this complicated undercurrent in Will and Mike's friendship, this sense that Will's feelings go deeper than Mike realizes or can reciprocate. In the coming out scene, Mike is right there, listening and supporting, but the show doesn't force some artificial resolution to Will's feelings. Instead, It allows that complexity to exist, acknowledging that Will has accepted both his sexuality and the reality that Mike isn't going to return those specific feelings. That's what makes it feel so authentic. It's messy and bittersweet and real in the way actual life is. So, what does this massive emotional revelation mean for the final battle against Vecna? That's the question hanging over everything as we head into the series finale. Will's entire arc this season has been about reclaiming his power, both literally through his newfound abilities and figuratively through self-acceptance. By coming out, he's removed Vecna's ability to use shame and fear as weapons against him. There are no more secrets for the monster to exploit, no more nightmares about abandonment to trap him with. Will has surrounded himself with love and acceptance, and that armor might be exactly what he needs to face down the darkness one final time. Noah has been careful not to spoil what's coming, but he's dropped some tantalizing hints. His finale badass look is apparently his favorite costume in all 5 seasons of the show, suggesting Will is going to have a major moment in that last episode. And given that he now has powers and has achieved this emotional breakthrough, it's not hard to imagine him playing a crucial role in defeating Vecna once and for all. The finale is titled The Right Side Up, a direct callback to the series' very first episode and a promise that things will finally be set right after years of chaos and trauma. Will's story is coming full circle, from the boy who disappeared in the pilot to the young man who's found himself and is ready to fight back. There's something poetic about the character who's suffered the most throughout this entire series, potentially being the key to ending it all. But we'll have to wait until December 31st to see exactly how it plays out. The impact of this scene extends far beyond the fictional town of Hawkins, Indiana. For every young person who's ever felt different, who's ever been terrified of losing the people they love if they reveal their true self, Will's coming out represents something powerful, the possibility of being seen and accepted anyway. Noah understood this responsibility from the moment he read the script. He knew there would be real kids watching who would see themselves in Will's struggle, and he wanted to honor their experience by making every moment feel genuine and earned. The scene works because it doesn't shy away from the fear and vulnerability, while also showing the beauty of what can happen when you're brave enough to speak your truth. In a show filled with literal monsters and supernatural horror, some of the most frightening moments have always been the deeply human ones. The fear of being different, of being alone, of losing the people who matter most. That's what's made Stranger Things resonate with so many viewers over the years. It uses the framework of 1980s nostalgia and sci-fi adventure to explore universal experiences of growing up, facing trauma, and finding your place in the world. Will's coming out scene is the culmination of that approach, a moment where the metaphorical becomes literal and the supernatural threat of Vecna is defeated by something as simple and profound as truth and love. For Noah Schnapp, saying goodbye to Will Byers and Stranger Things was never going to be easy. He spent 10 years growing up on the show, going through puberty with voice cracks captured on camera, navigating his formative years with this character by his side. The night before the final day of shooting, he stayed up writing letters to everyone in the cast and crew, walking through memories and trying to express what this journey had meant to him. When that last day finally came in December, the emotions he'd been holding back came flooding out. It wasn't just about saying goodbye to a job or even to a character. It was about closing a chapter of his life that had defined his entire adolescence and young adulthood. These people had been more than scene partners. They'd been family, watching him grow and supporting him through everything. Winona Ryder, in particular, had become this motherly figure to him, and he admitted he didn't expect how hard it would be to let her go that final day. But there's also something beautiful about the timing of it all. Noah came out publicly in real life in 2023, 2 years before the scene would air. By the time he performed Will's coming out, he'd already lived through his own version of it, already experienced that fear and relief and acceptance. That personal journey informed every moment of his performance, bringing a layer of authenticity that simply couldn't have existed if they'd done the scene in Season 4 as originally planned. Everything happened exactly when it needed to, both for the character and for the actor playing him. The final episode of Stranger Things arrives on December 31st, 2025, and with it comes the answer to questions we've been asking since that very first season. How will this all end? Can the kids of Hawkins finally defeat the darkness that's haunted them for years? What role will Will's truth play in the final battle? Noah has promised that his Season 5 hero moment is something special, and given everything we now know about his character's journey, it's not hard to imagine him standing at the center of it all when the dust settles. He's evolved from victim to survivor to hero, from a boy hiding his truth to a young man who's claimed his power by speaking it out loud. The emotional scene in Episode 7 wasn't just important for representation or for delivering on years of storytelling setup. It was the key to understanding what Stranger Things has always been about at its core. It's about the power of truth over lies, love over fear, and acceptance over shame. It's about how the bonds between people, when they're genuine and strong, can withstand anything, even monsters from another dimension. Will Byers finally got to say out loud what he'd been carrying in silence for so long, and in doing so, he not only freed himself, but showed everyone watching that it's possible to be scared and brave at the same time, to be vulnerable and strong, to be different and loved unconditionally. That's the real magic of this moment, and that's why Noah Schnapp's performance will resonate for years to come with anyone who's ever felt like they had to hide who they really are. The Upside Down might be closing forever on New Year's Eve, but the impact of Will's truth will last much, much longer than that.